Hey, John here at the Grape and Granary, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the assembly and the usage of a variable capacity wine tank. So, first thing we're going to talk about is the setup. I've already have a 100-liter wine tank set up here. I'll go over a little bit of the assembly with you. First thing you're going to find when you open one of these tanks up is that the little bladder is not going to be attached. So, the first thing you want to do is stretch the bladder over the lid, and you're going to want to make sure that the air intake is on the inside of the lid here. You'll have a hose clamp that attaches your piece of tubing to your pump, and you'll need to attach the other end of your hose to your pump, and of course you'll put a hose clamp there as well. And the other piece of the assembly is going to be the airlock, and that's just simply a threaded nut. So you put your airlock through the lid, and then you screw your lid or your nut on the back of that, tighten that down. Generally there will also be a piece of rope which is used for lowering the lid into the tank if you don't have a lot of volume in your tank, and you'll need to just tie a knot on that, not too complicated. Two more things you want to know about. One is the spigot, and you'll see this tank has a spigot at the bottom of the tank. I like to use some Teflon tape, and I'll wrap a few rounds of Teflon tape onto the back of the spigot, and then I'll thread that into the tank. And then the last piece is, when these tanks are new, they're going to have a special protection liner on the inside. You can see it's white here. You can see where there's no protection. This helps keep it from scratching. And then here you have the white liner. So what you'll want to do is grab a hold of that corner there, and you'll need to peel that all the way out. Okay? Not too many people know that, and you really don't want to put your wine in a dirty tank filled with tank liner. So you want to peel that out, and then you can go ahead and clean your tank, sanitize it. One more thing I did want to mention too, this is a stainless steel tank, and you never want to use bleach or chlorine sanitizers on stainless steel, because chlorine will pit stainless steel and you could actually end up with pit holes and it will leak. So I like to use the iodine-based sanitizer for stainless steel tanks. If you need something to really scrub it, another good option would be Straight A or Easy Clean. If you have wine diamonds, if you know what wine diamonds are, if you're making wine from fresh grapes or fresh fruit, you get this stuff in the bottom of the tank. If you've done any cold stabilization in there, it's like almost like glass, but it feels like sandpaper, very hard to remove. Best thing to remove that is barrel clean. So you mix up a solution of barrel clean, which contains lye, and that will just dissolve the stuff. So that's kind of the setup on these tanks. As far as the usage go, pretty straightforward. Let me just mention a couple real quick things. The beauty of a variable capacity wine tank is the fact that you can put almost any volume of wine into this tank and store it and keep it from oxidizing. So it doesn't matter, for example, on this 100-liter tank, which is about 26 US gallons, it doesn't matter if you have 2 gallons of wine in here or if you have 25 gallons of wine in here, because the lid is always going to float on the surface of the wine, which excludes the air. And as you probably already know, air is wine's worst enemy. So you always want to exclude the air when there is no fermentation taking place. So the beauty of one of these tanks is, again, whether you have 2 gallons or 20 gallons in here or 25 gallons, you can put the wine into the tank, take your variable capacity lid, and you're just going to have to lower this right down onto the surface of the wine. Okay? Once you have done that, you take your little pump here, unthread it a little bit so that you can push air into the bladder. Once you've got that, and you have it on the surface, grab hold of your pump, and you're going to go ahead and pump air into the bladder. And what will happen then is the bladder will start to expand, and it will create a seal on the inside of the tank. And you're going to want to pump that all the way up until you get to about 1 bar. And you can see on this particular gauge, it tells you the green area is between about 0.6 bars and 1 bar. I usually pump mine up to about 1 bar. And then you're going to want to tighten this down. All right? And that'll hold the pressure in the bladder. The bladder is kind of like a bicycle inner tube. That creates a seal. Make sure then, of course, you have the lid sitting right on the surface of the wine if the wine's not fermenting. Now, if you wanted to use this tank as a primary fermenting vessel, you can either cover this tank with a piece of plastic or a lid, or just put your variable capacity lid on the tank, but lift it up so that you have 5 or 6 or 7 inches of space between the wine and the bottom of the tank lid. That way when it foams and ferments, it's not going to foam up through the lid. There's a little hook on the back of our pump here, and you can just use that to hang your pump. I like to check these weekly because over time sometimes they will get a very slight leak and you'll start to notice the gauge starting to drop very slowly, and if you check it once a week, you'll catch it. You can add a little more pressure to your pump and you're fine. I also did want to mention that you can buy stands for these if you want. Some people will put them up on blocks. It kind of depends on the height that you want. If you have it up too high, sometimes it can be too hard to lift and you might need a pump, so that's something to consider. But if you have any questions about these tanks or any other item that we sell, please don't hesitate. Give us a call. You can find us on our website at www.thegrape.net. And if you have any questions, again, give us a call. We use these tanks all the time in our winery, so we're very familiar with how they work. If you're not sure about something, give us a call. John at Grape and Granary. Thanks for watching.